So as ever, with these classes, you sort of work at your own pace. If something that I ask you to do doesn't feel right to move into, then trust your intuition and just let yourself have a pause. You can always watch and learn from that and then work out if you want to try it later. That's the beauty of videos. So I'm going to start just sitting down on the floor. I've got my brick and my block out towards the front of the mat. I'm going to sit up nice and tall. And I'm just going to bring the fingertips onto the collarbones, elbows together, and inhale the elbows up. Exhale them nice and wide. Get the elbows to touch the ribs. Run across the chest as close as I can. Inhaling back up again. So I'm trying to get to that point where I can really feel the shoulder blades moving around and all the muscles underneath and in between. And then all the connected muscles working together. Do that a few times in the opposite direction. Now I'm just going to let the hands come out in front. So I want to keep the elbows into the body, make some strong fists, and then start to roll those wrists around. So you need to have a sort of a fairly strong grip with your fists so that you can really stretch out those tendons and muscles and ligaments in your forearms. And we'll go the opposite way as well. And just noticing if you find it easier to make circles with your wrists one way than the other, or one wrist works better than the other. And I'm just going to shake that out. I'm going to come down onto the floor. Use my way down to the ground. I'm going to draw the left knee in. Take the hands around the shin. Making a lengthen out through the right leg. So pressing out through the heel. Foot flexed and toes stretched. I'm going to use the arms to draw that leg in. And I'm going to release that foot to the floor. Slide the opposite leg in. Bring the knee towards me. Slide the left heel out this time. Hopefully down a center line. Thigh turns in slightly. Press out through the heel. Trying to get the heel on the calf as close to the ground as we can. Using the strength of my arms rather than my shoulders to draw the knee towards me progressively. And I'm going to release that foot. I'm going to keep it close to me and draw the opposite heel in, and then draw that left knee in and take the hands around the back of the hamstring. Interlaced fingers, press the heel to the sky. Draw the hips down, belly in. Flex foot. And we'll bring that foot down. And we'll take it across to the opposite side. Pressing that leg out. Raise that foot to the floor as well. And take the arms out wide, crucifix style, and just let the legs roll over to the left. They'll try and keep the legs together as they go over, nice and gently, shoulders flat to the floor, and then let the bottom leg just sink if it hasn't actually reached the floor. We'll get as low as we can, getting some nice easy breath. We'll wriggle through the shoulders. And we'll bring the legs back up, realign, wriggle over to the opposite side if needed. Bring the legs back up. We're going to the wide leg version of that. So knees together, feet out, comfortable distance, wider than your shoulders and your hips. We'll let the legs roll out, scissoring to the left. Bring everything back up slowly. Cross over to the opposite side. And we'll bring ourselves back up. We'll draw the knees in towards the body and just wrap the arms around the shins, tucking into a nice ball. And then as a release, roll to the right side. Hands come out to the side, we'll lift up. And I'm going to just come up to seated. We're going to come into Dandasana. So we're going to have a little bit of a gap between the heels. Press the big toes together. Toes and feet flex back and spread. And roll the thighs inwards a little bit. Press the sitting bones down. Roll the shoulders back. I'm going to try to imagine in my mind that my body is now a perfect right angle. Whether or not it is kind of academic, but I'm going to tell myself this is the closest I can get. This is what 90 degrees feels like with my body to my legs. I'm going to let that sort of imprint into my nervous system, that sensation. And then I'm going to relax. I'm going to take the block and just place that behind me. So as I draw my feet in, I can scoot up onto the block and then bring heel to heel or crossing the ankles if you need. I'm going to sit up nice and tall with the legs relaxed down. I'm going to take a twist to the right. So I'm going to hold for a few seconds, just with the head level, shoulders relaxed back, easy breathing. Try and relax the outer hips, inner groins. And I'm going to turn slowly to the other side. I come forwards again. And hinge from the hips with a flat back. And just walk my hands out into a seated forward fold. Pressing the tailbone over towards the back of the mat, drawing the belly in. I'm going to walk the hands back in, lifting up, and untangle the legs so that I can just bring them back in the opposite way around. So that leg one comes in, leg two, it's going to feel a little bit odd through the sitting bones, a little wiggle to acclimatize, let yourself settle, and fingers come forwards, and they come down even slower than you did on the previous side, because this always feels a little bit like you're not quite in your own body anymore. Make sure that we don't pull anything, give ourselves a little bit of tweak that tomorrow we'll be noticing. So we're going to try and keep that as easy as you can. Again, we'll lift up by walking the hands in. Send the legs out. Spin them out to the side, come up onto all fours, and I'm going to move my flat block out to the front of the mat, just to the sides. The fingertips right in the front edge of the mat. I'm going to move into down dog. So lifting up, just walking out gently. Fingers just turning out very slightly to the sides. And if you've done a couple of classes already today, or you've done at least one other yoga class today, then you might choose not to stretch the legs out by pedaling. You might want to actually work on something else, maybe deeper into the shoulders by bending the knees a lot, just being static in the pose. Your choice. Now we're going to here's the left leg up to the sky and come up onto the tiptoes, holding ourselves back in the down dog. I'm going to draw the knee on the exhale in towards my chest as strong as I can, staying in the down dog shape. Extend the leg back up to the sky. Bring it back in towards the body. Take it out again for a third time. Draw it in towards the body. Send it out. And then I'm slowly going to move into a plank, three-legged plank. I'm going to bend the knee of the lifted foot, roll out towards my right side into a side plank, and then just flip the dog over, bring it back, lift myself into down dog, and we'll take the opposite leg up, nice and high, knee into chest, a little squeeze, taking it up, bringing it in, taking it up, back in, last time up, into the three-legged plank, bend the knee, flip it over, strong legs, opening the chest, we'll come back, to down dog, take a little breath, come forward into plank, knees to the ground, we'll tuck the toes underneath, so coming up into hero's pose with a little bit of a toe scratch. The shoulders around a few times, both directions. So tonight's class will be a bit strong on the shoulders. Let us come back onto all fours. We'll move into a nice plank. We're going to take a breath, and then we're going to take the left knee to the left elbow. Tap, take it back to the right, and back to the left, and back to the right, and back to the left, and back to the right, and back. Going to go over to the left side for a side plank. Going to come back to plank and take it over to the right side, side plank. And back to plank, to down dog. Here's the right leg up, bend the knee, flip it over to the left. Open it up again. Coming back up into that high plank, to dog. And we'll take the left leg up, bend the knee, flip it over. Coming back to down dog, and then plank, and knees to the ground again. Feet come out to the side. We'll grab the flat block and just put that behind. Taking the legs out. Janu Siddhasana. So I'm going to bring the right heel into the groin, square myself up, little bend in the knee, take a breath, fold over. I'm going to press the foot that's into the groin a little bit and down into the floor with that shin. I'll extend the hands out, take round the sole of the foot, draw the chest up and forwards a little bit. I can release. Coming back up. Going to cross over to the opposite side. So just as we did before, little bend in the knee, toes flex back. And we fold over. Slide the hands out. And then we'll come back. I'll actually just bring both feet in, crossing the ankles, and then rolling forwards onto the knees, taking the block out to the side, and allow myself to untangle myself back into down dog eventually, just lifting our way up. I'm going to walk the hands gently in towards the toes, coming into standing forward bends, have the feet parallel, hip distance apart. Take a breath in. Hands to the shins, we'll lift up, see if we get 90 degrees. Exhale down. Hands to the shins. Exhale down. Hands to the shins. And down. Hands to the hips this time. Inhale it up, soft knees and flat back as ever. Swoop the arms up and wide. Hands into the hearts. Soften the knees as you hinge forwards, coming down. Hands to the hips again. Let ourselves lift up. Arms wide. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down. Final time. Lift. And then we're simply going to walk into the front of the mat, just taking it out a little bit as we go. I'm going to take the hands forward this time, drawing the ribs back and the belly in. Hands into the heart, hinging down to the floor. Taking a breath, I'm going to send the left foot to the back of the mat into a lunge. Going to drop the back knee to the floor, untap the toes, sweep the hands alongside the body, lift up on the breath in. Exhale back down. Lift the back knee. And we'll take high crescent, so hands alongside, and then out to the front, lifting up. And back down. Into our down dog. Into our plank. Lifting the right leg, bend the knee, flip it over to the left. Coming back into plank, we're lifting the left leg over to the right. And back to our down dog. Lift the left leg high, knee into chest and bring the foot through. Take a breath, push off the toes into a forward bend. Hands to hips and lift up. Hands forwards again. And exhale down. This time we're taking the right foot back into the floor. We untuck the toes and swoop back with the hands to lift up on the breath in. Coming back down. Tuck the toe on the back, lift the knee. High crescent, so hands alongside. Lifting up. Back down. Stepping back into our down dog. Into our plank. Taking a breath, lifting the right leg, bend the knee, flip it over to the left. Coming back. Left leg lifts, knee bends, we flip over. Coming back. Down dog, we move. With the right leg high. Knee to chest and foot through. Taking the breath into that forward bend, hands to the hips, and we'll lift up. This is where it will get interesting. Hands come forwards, inhaling up. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down. Sending the left leg back, knee to the floor, untap the toes, swoop the hands alongside, we'll lift up. Hands come down. Back knee lifts. High crescent, so hands alongside to skywards. Bringing the hands down. Just step back into down dog. You want to make sure your feet are a good distance apart, and then travel gently into your plank. We're going to take side plank by just flipping the feet over to the left. And then we're going to slowly let the hips come down to the ground, keeping that shoulder nice and strong underneath. We're going to lay our bum or the hip bone down to the floor. The shoulder moves quite a lot. Now the top leg, we're just going to roll onto our bottom out to the side of the mat. We're going to bring the right foot in towards us, so it's about level with the knee and a good 12 inches out to the side. And then I'm going to take my right hand up towards the sky. Take a breath in, press into the foot that's closest to me. Stretch up and over, taking the hand towards the back of the mat. Sorry, the front of the mat, so the chest is lifting to the sky. Hips as high as you can. And then we'll roll the bottom back down. Bring the hands down. Cross the legs over. Roll as if you're going to go onto your belly, but lifting into the plank. We take a breath. We take the feet over to the opposite side. The right hand lifts. Drop the hip all the way down to the floor, nice and slowly. Then we'll turn bottom to the floor, bringing the foot in and wide. We'll lift up, hips to the sky, stretching the top arm out to the front of the mat. Coming back down. Lengthening the legs out, crossing the legs over. Roll into the plank again. Allow ourselves to come into down dog. We'll take the left leg high, knee to chest, foot through. Take a breath. Step into the front of the mat, hands to the hips, and we lift up. We'll take the hands forwards again. And exhale down. This time the right leg's going back. Knee to the floor. Untuck the toes, we'll lift up. Everything comes down. Back knee lifts. Strong legs. Hands alongside to lift up again. We come back. Step into our down dog. Come into plank. Set the feet up, hip distance apart. Slip them over to the left. Side plank. Lower the hips to the floor. Roll onto your bottom, bringing that top leg over. Out to the side, we lift up. Two strong legs. Look into the front of the mat. Coming back down. Bone comes to the floor, leg lengthens out, crosses over to plank. We settle. Take the feet over to the other side. Hips come down. All onto our bums. That foot goes wide. Take a breath. Let ourselves lift up slowly. Stretching out. Coming back. Bums to the floor. The leg out, cross over. Back into your plank. Up into your down dog. There's your right leg high. Knee to chest and through. Take a breath. And step into that forward bend. Hands to the hips. And we'll lift up. Hands come forward and up. Hands through the heart. And exhaling down. Sending the left leg back again. We'll drop the knee and tuck the toes. With the hands alongside and up. We're going to make it simple for ourselves, taking the arms wide. We come into a revolve twist, so we'll bring the hands into the prayer position, nice and high. Inhale, rotating over the front thigh. Exhaling out. Take the elbow wide of the leg, lift the chest a little, and a chance to breathe. I'll bring the hands to the floor. Step back into dog. Here's the left leg high. Knee to chest and through. From the lunge, we step forward, fold. Into the hips, lifting up. Hands come forwards, we travel. Second side. Coming down. Right leg back. Drop the knee and tuck the toes and swoop up with the arms. Take them wide, find your balance point. Hands into the heart. So use the breath in to rotate around. Use the exhale to come forwards. So ideally, we want the knee over the ankle. And try and lift the chest as much as we can. Press the hands together. Hands back to the floor. Stepping back, the dog. Scissor in the right leg high. Knee to chest. Through. Between the hands. We'll take a breath. Step into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips. And we'll lift up. Whew. The warm-up's done. So I'm going to take my brick, which could be a block, and just put it on its end out in front of my mat. So it's there for reassurance, perhaps more than anything, because I'm going to try to do this without bringing the hands to the floor. We're going to move into Warrior 3, so no great secret. We'll take the arms wide this time on the inhale and bring them up towards the sky. Bring the hands through the heart, and we'll exhale down to the floor. We're going to take a breath, bend the left foot back. I'm going to bring the hands alongside the body and lift up into high crescent. I'm going to bring the hands in towards the heart and lean out over the front leg. I'm going to push off the back foot into Warrior 3, so lifting away. And then the block is there, underneath. If we need it for a little bit of reassurance, we can be on our fingertips. We can be resting on a hand, or we can bring the hands towards the heart. Strong back leg, hips square to the ground. Last breath in. And then we'll soften the knee on the front to bring ourselves back into lunge. Take a breath. And we'll step forwards into the fold. Hands onto the hips. We'll take the second side. We'll lift up. Just shaking the legs out. Arms come nice and high on the inhale. Hands into the heart. We'll exhale down. Bring the right leg back. We're going to lift into our high crescent, so hands alongside, coming up. Hands into the heart. So just, I know it sounds silly, but make sure that your front foot is actually pointing forwards, not twisted at all underneath you. Leaning over, take a breath. I'm going to push gently and lift into Warrior 3. Trying to draw the body nice and long. So there's 90-degree angles that we worked on earlier on, starting to come back and visit us, hopefully. Okay, we'll soften the front knee into a lunge, fingertips to the floor. Off that a little bit on the end, and then step into the forward bend. Hands to the hips, and we'll lift up. Just shake out the legs. So hopefully both legs feel pretty much the same in terms of the workload they've done. We'll take 30 seconds. Mountain pose, just to let ourselves compose. And take the arms wide again. Up to the sky on the breath in. And through the heart and exhale, soft knees, flat backs as we come down. We'll take the left leg back and we're going to lift into Warrior 2. So we'll drop the heel in, allow ourselves to lift up slowly. Now from there, going to lengthen out over the front leg. Bring the hand down onto the brick. So I want to move the brick out to the right side a little bit, so it's more lined up with my right shoulder. And the rear hand, I'm just going to place on the top of my hip. Now I'm going to step the rear foot about halfway in, and then lean into the front leg. Adjust the hand out a little further if I need it. Slowly lift the back leg away from the floor. So I think it's as high as my hip. So it's a strong leg pressing out through a flexed foot. And then slowly take the hand that was on the hip to the sky, palm facing out. And then if you wish to, you can lift your hand off the block and stand purely on one leg. Right, bring the hand back onto the block, soften the front knee, come back into the lunge, lift into my warrior two, take the hands high, out towards the front of the mat and down. Take a little breath, step gently into that forward bend, hands to the hips for the lift. I'm going to move my block over to the opposite side, so you've got some idea of where it needs to go to, hopefully. Take the arms wide again on the inhale and up through the heart. Exhaling down. So we're stepping to warrior two, lunge. Heel drops in. We'll lift. Make sure our foot and our knee and our hips are nicely aligned. We'll lengthen out. Reach for the block. Hand onto the hip. Take a breath. Step the back foot in halfway. Adjust the brick if we need to. Lean into the front leg. Let the back leg lift. Let the hand lift to the sky. And then come off the brick if you feel comfortable to do so. Oops. Tried to lose that one. But obviously I do need to bruise the brick on this side tonight. Not entirely sure why. Something of a tired leg on that side for this evening. Last breath in. Going to soften the knee back into the lunge. Lift into the warrior two. Then hands high and out to the front of the mat we go. Back down. We'll step into that forward bend. Holding deep. Hands to the hips. Let ourselves lift. Shake out the legs. Another 30 seconds or so to relax in mountain pose. So just trying to embrace stretching the feet, feeling them getting wider on the floor. They're the thing that we're going to balance on, so we really want to have feet the size of flippers. So just spread the bones out a little bit, wriggle the toes, and then we're ready to go again. So we're going to inhale high with the hands, bring the hands into the heart, exhale to the floor, flipping the left leg back to warrior two. Now this time we're going to take the hands high, rotate the chest and the hips and lift the back heel. Going to lean over the front leg, taking the arms out and see if I can come into warrior three, just extending the arms out in front. Lost that. And we'll soften the front knee into the lunge or into the high crescent, fingers to the floor, and then roll it back in. Hands to the hips, and let ourselves lift. So one more side to play. Inhale high, hands through the heart. Exhaling down. And we're sending the right leg back. We're going to open into warrior two. Hands come high. Shoulder distance apart, we rotate, lifting the back heel. Find our balance point. Slowly lean over the front leg. Trying to get some lift of the back foot away from the ground. Oops. I am very wobbly this evening for some reason. We'll take a last breath there. Start from the front knee. Let ourselves lift back up. I'll take the arms high again, out to the front of the mat and down. And then stepping into that forward bend. And for the hips, let ourselves lift up. Shake out the legs again. So we're going to need to move the brick back towards the center. So just taking a little move there on end. And then we'll see if we can try a revolved version of this into revolved half moon. A couple more breaths. With the arms high on the inhale. Bring the hands through the heart. Soften down to the floor. Send the left foot back. Drop the heel in. We'll open up into our warrior two. Take a breath. Lift the hands high. Rotate out towards the front of the mat. Now I'm going to bring the hands down, out forwards. Lift the back heel. Take a little breath. And I'm going to take my left hand on top of the brick, about the center line, maybe just a fraction over to the left actually. And then I'm going to push off the back foot. So I'm lifting into that warrior three position, but resting the hand very much on top of the brick. Now I'm going to slide the right hand towards my hip. Begin to turn my chest to the right side of the mat. And let the right hand come up. Now I want to try and press the thighs together a little bit. And press out through the heel. I'm out of that. I'm going to bring the right hand down, turn the chest slowly to the floor again. Soften the front knee. Bring the fingertips to the floor, into the lunge, and then simply step into that forward bend. I'll bring the hands to the hips and let myself lift up. Got one more side to play with, so arms go wide. Hands into the heart. Hinge at the hips and come down. Taking the right leg back into the lunge. Take a little breath. Allow myself to take the heel in, but lift into warrior two. Allow myself to lengthen out. Bring the hands down and over to the front of the mat. Allow myself to step into the warrior three. Bring my hand up on top of the brick this time, the right hand. And take the left hand back towards the hip. We're trying to keep the body in a nice sort of T shape. Turning the chest out to the side. Squeeze the thighs together a little bit, the inner groins meeting. Taking that hand high, chest to the side. And ease the hand back down, turning the chest to the floor. Soften the front knee. Moving in towards the lunge. And we'll step back. The down dog. And we'll ease the knees to the floor. Sitting down gently. I'm going to move the brick out towards the front of the mat. Bring the elbows down to the ground. And want the elbows to be about shoulder distance apart. We're going to lightly interlace the fingers. And then walk the legs back. Lower the hips gently to the floor. into Sphinx pose. I'm going to let those very tired glutes and lower back muscles have a rest. So lifting the chest forward and up, rolling the shoulders out. Now I'm going to come into child's pose. So I'm going to bring the hands to the floor, first of all, heel away from the ground. Allow myself to sit back onto the heels. I'm going to take a relatively narrow stance for this child's pose, and then walk the hands out slowly. So I'm coming in very gently to this pose, moving from the Sphinx pose to child's pose. It needs to be done quite slowly, in my opinion. When the muscles are tired, and my muscles definitely are tired. And it's time to lift back up again. I want to move sort of at least to the middle of the mat. And then I'll take my friendly flat block and just spin that feet out to the side. Let feet come forwards a little bit, and then have my bum there. So the reason I'm doing that is, I need to go a little further actually. If I was to happen to roll backwards and fall off the block, if I've got a soft mat under my head rather than a hard floor. I'm going to come into deer pose. So slowing things down a lot. I'm going to take the left foot underneath. So it's not right all the way out to the hip. I want the knee out to the side a little bit, pointing off 45 degrees. But I do want to be able to see the arch of the foot, that left foot underneath my right leg. Lean out to the left, bring my right leg back so I can place the shin bone into the arch of the foot, have both knees on the floor, and let myself sit up nice and tall. Now, if you find that you've got a very sort of strong lean out to the side, you're going to take your fingers and just press them into the floor. And if you've got short arms and a long back and you need even more space, so you might need to grab the block under your hand just to ease yourself in. And then we're going to release and take those legs over to the opposite side. So just stretching out gently. Leaning out to the right side this time. Bootlaces down on the left foot. And then we're going to release from there as well. So stretching the legs back out again. And I'm going to come into a twisted heron pose. So we're going to take the left heel into the groin. So the knee's really out 45 degrees and the shin wants to be on the floor. I'm going to draw the right leg in and take it out towards the hip a little bit. I'm going to take the left hand and take that to the outside of the little toe of the right foot. And just use the right hand against the right knee. Take a little breath and slowly extend that right foot out. And allow the right hand to move towards the back of the mat. Just pressing out through the heel, lifting a little bit, trying not to lean back. So a good indicator if you're rolling back is that your shin lifts off the floor. So you want to try and lean forwards a little bit, if anything. And then we'll release. And we'll do this to the second side. So legs out in front, heel into the groin, get anchored onto that shin. Left foot goes out wide to the hip, right arm comes across. Take a breath, use the hand against the outside of the leg to help extend it out, and then into the twist, looking backwards. And we'll let ourselves release from there as well. So going to move the block towards the back of the mat. Leaning forwards a little bit. Use the hands behind. Going to roll gently back down to the floor. So I'm going to use the block under the head, but it's not absolutely necessary. It just makes it a little easier for me in a moment when we come to Shavasana to see the clock. So I'm going to walk the feet in really close to the bottom. Take a little breath, take the arms out, crucifix wide, and then just simply let the legs move over to the left. Do your best to let those legs completely relax and let that feeling wave through your body. I'll bring the legs back up. Cross over to the opposite side. Letting the legs relax. A little bit like watching a wave rolling up to the beach and starting to roll away again. Bring the legs back up. If your lower back and your glutes are feeling very tired, then take the feet wide, knees high, TP the legs into the center, having the feet closer to you. And just bring the arms down towards the sides of the mat, palms facing up. So your spine is very neutral to your pelvis. If your back feels okay and you want to wiggle your feet out to the corner edges of the mat, you can do, just sliding the heels along the ground rather than lifting the leg off the floor. So you don't inadvertently pull the muscles in your lower back, just at the last sort of movement into a pose. And close the eyes, loosen the jaws, and we'll just sit and rest. Begin to breathe a little deeper, wriggle those fingers and toes. And start to roll the wrists and the ankles. Give them a last little stretch. Being a little more aware of our body, we can use the exhale of the next breath to stretch in any way that feels good. And then if you haven't already, we'll slide one leg at a time along the ground towards us. Bring the knees in, let the hands come around the shins, and we'll rock gently from side to side. And then on the next exhalation, plunge with a roll to the right. The legs move down, turn the chest over, lift gently away from the floor. Come back to a easy sitting posture. Bring the hands in towards our heart. We'll close the eyes this evening, taking a longer breath here. Begin to slowly exhale, letting the chin drop. The belly draw in. Bow to the floor, sealing our practice for the evening. Inhaling, we'll let the spine lift. Let the head follow and the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Hope you had fun. See you again on the mat soon.